There we go. So, good evening or good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us wherever you are around this beautiful planet. I'm happy you're here, and we're here now together to talk a bit about the lunar nodes and how they connect to the evolution of consciousness in evolutionary astrology. We're here on September 24th, 2020, just 2 days after the equinox, as the storm clouds gather at the heights of times. What a time this is, but we're not here to talk about this time. We're here to talk about the nodes, but before we even start, I want to thank my teacher, Maurice Fernandez, taught me the basis upon which I have built what I am about to present to you today. So let's talk a bit about the evolutionary viewpoint. If you don't know me, I'm an evolutionary astrologer. So life is an evolutionary journey for our soul. And in evolutionary astrology, we perceive ourselves as souls within bodies, souls that have been here before and will come here again. We reincarnate over many lifetimes, and we do so in groups. We meet each other again, like kids, meeting each other every year in class. We meet each other and play important transformative roles in front of one another. One time I'll be your father, the other your enemy, the third your daughter. But we'll meet again. And we do choose our clan and surrounding to suit our life themes, what we have to learn this time around. We choose our parents. And we will learn what we have to learn. Anyway, we could do that with a carrot in our mouth or a stick up our backside, and most of us need a little of both. And through that road, we can gain karma or dharma, which is the opposite of karma. If karma is a deficit, something we owe energetically because of past life discrepancies, past life corruptions, and vices, dharma is where we behaved amazingly, even though the situation was not easy. So that's a place we get affluent in the next lifetime. We get affluence and plenty. And furthermore, to reenact and recreate past life themes in our early life. And that sets as a starting point that gives an azimuth, a direction for this lifetime, an important one. There's a spillover from the past life into this one of things we haven't finished working on. And this is an important point. And I will stress that again through this presentation. Many times, astrologers teach us to look at the South Node as something karmatic. And that's not exact. The South Node is not your karma. It's unfinished business. And there's a big difference between the two. Karma is when I went through a test and failed it. Unfinished business, I'm still writing that test. It isn't over yet. So in the South Node, we can find our talents and the things we find easiest and most natural as well, where we came from. It's not something we can forget about or disregard. And generally, we see the natal chart as a CV, as a curriculum vitae of the soul's journey and the toolbox that it came with this time around. What are the lunar nodes? So the lunar nodes are energetic portals for us as evolutionary astrologers in space. They're the meeting point of our course of Earth with the luminaries, or more exactly, the course of the moon around the Earth and the Earth around the sun. And in these cross points, we find eclipses occur. So the ancients believed these are great energetic portals. And we believe that the journey of the soul is depicted in the nodes. We talk about the evolutionary lessons that the soul has to go through this time around. And placement in both house and sign is of vital importance. Planets, and of course luminaries, near or in an angle to the nodes, are part of the evolutionary story. That planet, that point, becomes a stepping stone on the road to the balancing of the nodes, to the conquering of the North Node. And from my experience, the nodes provide the best entry point into the chart. Because when I start speaking with someone about their chart, I want to go as far back as I can to know why their present life looks the way it does. What happened last time around? And what should they learn this time around? Where is the balance? Now, the nodes are the nodes of the moon. All planets have nodes, but we give a special significance to the lunar nodes. So we have to remember they have a lunar quality, signifying the more maternal parent, our lineage, the past, our family, mothering, the emotional side of things, and our emotional makeup and upbringing. In a way, our soul's identity. But the whole axis is important. And we truly come here to rise above the duality it presents and transcend it. Many times we find astrologers saying that we need to conquer the North Node. But they're two sides of the same coin. And as my father used to tell me, keep your eyes on the coin itself. The coin is what happens between those two sides. And as I said before, the South Node is a great asset as well. Because these are things you naturally know and are part of you. And being drawn too far forward into the North Node is a grave mistake, as being stuck in the South Node is. And through my work of consulting with clients, some of my hardest cases were people stuck in their North Node, not in their South Node. And what we need to remember is that balancing these 2 points is of vital importance. Now, when a planet is on the node, it strengthens that planet. It puts a high consciousness for that person in that spot, like an emphasis. It plugs in that planet into a neon light in that person's consciousness and life. It's a known process, and it will be part of that person's life. It's an ongoing work in progress. And it would cause that person to stick to that end of the node more. The more planets, and certainly luminaries there are in one end, more it would be harder to leave that spot within one's consciousness. When a planet squares the nodes, it's not a new process, but there's still some missing knowledge there. And getting it would probably require some kind of challenge, struggle, or individuation process, or maybe even a conflict. It would be something I would have to rise up to, or go against something. When a planet trines / sextiles the nodes, that's a great bypass point for the opposition between the South Node and the North Node, and a great way for us to achieve that balance we so desperately seek. So this is a previous knowledge that the soul already holds in that spot, that grants wisdom, popularity, and value, talents and assets that can help it balance the nodes. Now, conquering the North, and listen to what I say here, because this is important and sums up everything I've been trying to say. Excuse me. Conquering the North makes us live in peace with the known South and balance it out positively in our lives. Conquering the North makes us live in peace with the known South and balance it out positively in our lives. Just a word about how we differentiate between houses, planets, and signs. Houses provide the venue, the scene placement in one's life. Think of yourselves in a dark room, and in front of you there's one of these great theatrical curtains. And as it draws open, your eyes run to the stage and try to see the surrounding, the placement on that stage. Where is the scene taking place? Is it in the forest? Is it in the king's palace? Is it in the mill? Where is it taking place? That's the venue. Is it in that person's character, in their money and assets, in their family, in their relationships, maybe in their investments and partnerships? Maybe it's in their career. These are the houses. The planets are the actors coming up on stage. I see Mars, the young warrior, together with Saturn, the old judge. I know these characters. I know what they like. I know what they dislike. But I still know nothing until I know in what palette is this scene all colored in. What's the atmosphere on stage? What music is playing in the background? What is the text being spoken between the characters themselves? Are they somber or vengeful? Are they happy and in love? That's the sign that sets the color, and it's a significant influence. Even if there are no actors on stage, if you see an empty house, it only has a sign. Well, it still tells you a lot about the attitude that this stage holds in that person's life. And it would be a very different picture if we take the same house and tree and paint it in a Leo palette of summer, or painted in the Capricornian palette of winter. Same house, same tree, feel very differently when you look at those pictures, those paintings, right? So I'm going to go through two ways to examine how to understand better the nodes. And we're going to switch midway in the zodiac. So the first way is to understand what I know and what I need to learn when it comes to the nodes. So if we take the Aries Libra axis what would I know if I would have my South Node in Aries? First of all, I would come to this life with an Aryan quality. I would have this sense of I, me, I can do it. In a way, destiny is in my hands, and I have the power to change my own fate. I remember the triumphs of the past, and I would have a strong personality, an innocent, naive personality with a strong need for individuality, passionate, very sincere to my impulses. Although I not understand them always, I would be loyal to them. To my sexual needs as well. And my outlook would be very subjective. I would have this need, pressing need to act. And that feeling that when I am not in charge, I'm more vulnerable. These are usually fighters on all levels, sensitive to injustice or what they see as unjust. And as I said, there's a sense of urgency. But what do I learn? Well, if my North Node is in Libra, I encounter my limits as an individual throughout this lifetime and understand that communication and diplomacy are needed, that I can't do it alone. I need to face and overcome communication problems and friction with others, and the fact that I can't get my way all the time and I can't get it now. That even though I'm right, I have to play along and find the middle ground. If I want to do it the right way, if I want to do it big, if I really want to complete my destiny, I can't do it alone. I evolve through the meetings of others. Through the experience of human diversity, I get a more holistic viewpoint, a more objective viewpoint of what this journey of life is for me. And I learned that compromise, which is more frightening than death for Aries, could be something even positive. Because Aries feels it's like giving up their truth. I learn to deal with self-doubt and hesitation and how to rise above my impulsivity, above velocity and inertia. And another very important life lesson is not staying in that state of self-doubt and hesitation. As I said, going too far to the North Node and canceling oneself out, losing one's colors. So committing wholeheartedly to something is a life lesson, and how to do so without losing your own colors in the process. Let's look at a person I love to speak about, Mr. Winston Lennon, John Winston Ono Lennon. So we see the South Node in the 12th house in Aries, the house of Pisces, but in the 11th degree of Aries, signifying maybe something very not so functional, very blue collar, proletariat, working man, family, maybe close by to the sea or with involvement with the sea because of the 12th house, and maybe not that functional, maybe not a lot of limits there, a lot of feelings. Aries adds to that. Maybe very passionate, but not stable, very artistic and entrepreneurial, and certainly angry with that Aries South Node and a feeling that I can save my own skin. And it's very appropriate to the early setting that John actually lived in with his mother and her boyfriend after the father left. And until basically English authorities took him out of his mother's care and gave him to her elder sisters. But throughout his younger years, John was a very angry person, nothing like the John that we know today. He was fighting his way through life. He was very violent. He had outbursts of anger and violence. He was thrown out from every school and place he was ever admitted into. And in his own words, he said, I was the kid that every parent would tell his child, don't talk to that kid and don't go near him. And they were right. Because I would tell them everything their parent didn't want them to hear. I would tell them, your parents aren't gods. Look at me. I have no parents. It's an exact quote. But throughout his road, he found out two things. First, that it was peace and cooperation that would be his destiny, and that he couldn't do it alone, that relationships would be critically important, and cooperation and working with others, both professionally within the Beatles, and we can see the Beatles as the union between Paul and John. Ringo and George came along with Paul and became good friends with John, but it's another story. So how pivotal this cooperation has been in his life's journey and his relationships, especially the one with Yoko Ono. The John that we know today is an image created by Yoko Ono, or a work of art that is created by Yoko Ono. Very much, you know, she influenced him greatly. She made him a better man than he was. And we can see the sixth house. So it ties into social issues, it ties into social justice, it ties into the idea of amendment in the highest sense of the word, the Kabbalistic sense of the word, self-amendment, the amendment of this world. So the sixth house, the house of service, of healing. And we won't go on to analyze the chart. I just wanted to talk about the nodes. And I'm not even talking about the rulers of the nodes or anything. We don't have the time for it. So the nodes in the Aries Libra axis, this time South Node in Libra. I would have a Venusian quality with the emphasis on relationships, with the tendency to just, you know, dye myself out or dilute myself out, my colors out in a relationship, and just be happy with and content with my partner being happy, to compromise and communicate about everything. I have the sense that if I don't do that, if I don't communicate, negotiate, and find the middle ground, I'm not seeing the whole picture and I'm not being balanced. And that if I would go through that middle ground because of my understanding of others, that sense of harmony created in my life would prevent me from experiencing pain. That I would rise above being human, that eternal cycle of samsara, of suffering, and be able to avoid some of it. And that peace cultivates prosperity in the natural physical sense of things and enables continuity. And in that sense, that neutrality is power. That when I decide on which side I am, I lose something. I lose some of the possibilities. Generally, I would feel that others are much more interesting than I am. And that it is through others and comparing how others see the world and go through it, the choices, the thoughts that others have, I would get a more global understanding and holistic viewpoint. And basically, I would have an acute sense of lack, sitting in the base of everything I've just said, driving it forward many times. So many times, my need to do all of that would not come from this really, enlightened being within me that wants everything to be peaceful. No, from a sense of, anxiety that I have something missing, an acute sense of lack that could go for a very prolonged period of time with me in my life, that I need other people to show me the way or to take me along, that I can't do it by myself. And that's important to understand. What do I learn? I learn to be independent. I learn that sometimes I have to go on my own road, that anger cannot be averted, and sometimes is therapeutic, that I cannot raise harmony above everything else, that some things cannot be tolerated and I need to separate. That I would need to initiate and become a leader, that I cannot wait for others to hold my hand for me all the time. And that there is a good and a bad. There is light and dark. You cannot be objective all the time. And through that separation, the new is born. It is part of our evolution. And if necessity is the mother of innovation, this is the father of it. It is only through the new that our life unfolds in ways we haven't perceived it could actually unfold in, that we haven't imagined it could actually unfold. That I must choose sides. That if I don't choose, that if I don't act, I can actually participate in the hurting of others and injustice. That this is earth that we live on, not paradise. That we live in a continual state of conflict. That we fight over a lack of resources. And that when push comes to shove, yes, I would choose my children and myself over somebody I don't know. Yes, if it would be for the last crust of bread, I would give it to my child over another child. If it would be them or her. That there is a difference. that we have to choose. And that creating balanced relationships really means that my needs are at least important as someone else's. That prioritizing is necessary. So let's look at Martin Luther, the one born in the 1400s in Germany. Beginning as something very diplomatic, maybe even idealistic, compromising, and verbal, with that south node in the sign of Libra in the third house conjunct Jupiter. So we can see the philosophical influence, the great knowledge that soul comes with in the house of intelligence, the house of communication, the house of the cerebral brain. We can see the compromising attitude. We can see the diplomacy. But on the other side, the two malefics, along with Venus, are not too far away. At least Mars isn't, and it's in the sign of Scorpio. So we can guess that early on, this soul has been subjected or exposed to injustices within that brethren. You know, the third house in ancient astrology is the house of caste systems, is the house of guilds. It's the house of our brethren and our sisters and brothers, not only in the familial sense, but also the people studying with us, the people within the convent or the church that we're in. And you can bet you that he was exposed or subjected to something unjust, maybe cruel or violent. And that started an internal question that in the end gave birth to a new section of the Christian church, the Protestant church. And we can see how this North Node is in the ninth house again of beliefs, philosophy, religion, in the sign of Aries. So let's talk about the Taurus-Scorpio axis. What an axis. If I come from the Taurus background, from South Node in Taurus, I would know that it is safe within my garden. That I need to be resourceful in order to provide myself with autonomous continuity. It's like building an earth ship or an island, a self-sufficient bubble. I would know how to do that. And I would have great loyalty to that stability and harmony and self-reliance in my life. My relationship with the material world would probably be important. I would need to be rooted within the flesh of the earth, whether it's through finances, through having my own territory, my own house or land. But I would find safety and stability that way. That sturdiness, that feeling of steadiness, of things that aren't changing, are unchanging in their nature, is something that I would know and praise. And I would have a deep well or mine to excavate within myself of talents, and it would be rich. I would be drawn towards the classics. I might have a natural way with aesthetics. Might be drawn too much to the sexual or sensual sides, or attached to materialism. It might have a magnetic quality about me. I would remember great enjoyment from the past life, and generally a feeling of being content and comfortable with my relationship with the material world, being within a body. And I would have it harder than others when it comes to trying to change. I would be stubborn often and reluctant to change, and that might cause me to disassociate myself or from people, or for people to disassociate from me in the end. And it would be hard for me to step out of my comfort zone. These are people that build upon and deepen what they already have. And sometimes there's a great territorial dominance there. And in extreme cases, hoarding. These are the people that you find sometimes with, after they die, their place is packed with packages they haven't even opened. What do I learn? I learned that life isn't stable or harmonious as I remember it to be. And by actually giving up my reluctance to change and flowing along with it, I understand that what was lurking beneath the surface is much more important than what was there on top of it before. I start feeling this hunger for personal growth. I understand that breaking my own limits is evolving, that stepping out of my comfort zone is beneficial, that I must take risks, that I need to believe that whatever will be is better than what is. That's a mantra of North Node in Scorpio. That sometimes we can die for the truth, and that the truth will set us free. That we cannot live a lie. And that there would be times that we would need to trust others. That means giving up control. And that through that eternal process, like the waves on a shoreline of merging and separation, we grow, evolve, and become something new. I understand the unconscious currents within me, these protocols that have been hiding in my shadows, actually causing my computer to do so many things unconsciously. And I strive to overcome them. And generally to overcome my lower chakras, to overcome my attachment to the transient and the materialistic. The control that emotions and desires have over me. And I face the shadow within me. And I learn that everything sprouts, blossoms, and decays. That we're all part of that cyclic motion. Or as this story goes about King Solomon, that asked his trusted advisor to find him a magic ring. A ring that would have the power to make any happy man sad and any sad man happy the minute they gaze upon it. And that loyal servant went out to the land, to every magician and mage, to every witch, to every talisman maker, but none knew how to make such a ring. So he traveled overseas to the far reaches of Nubia. And there in the desert, in a far village, ready to head back, he walked into this shed of a local ring maker. And he told him he was an emissary from Jerusalem, sent by the king, with this wish. Upon hearing that wish, the old man smiled, took a copper ring, etched something on it, and gave it back to the king's man, who immediately looked at it, thanked the man, gave him the prize of money given by the king, and hurried back to Jerusalem. The fornicating king, which Solomon was enjoying a marriage to one of his new wives, and was the marriage night, and it was a very festive occasion, and he heard that his emissary has come back. Immediately he was brought in, and he asked to see the ring. And as he gazed upon it and looked on it, immediately his face fell. He stood up and he told everybody that from this day on he should wear it on his hand to remind them how everything is transient, and that this man remained loyal and found the ring as I wished. And what was written on that ring, according to the story, is this too shall end. So that understanding that wherever you are in your life, you're not there yet. This too shall end. That the journey goes onward, even if you thought that you could rest, and that pain and death are inevitable. They're part of it. So, Honest Abe, born with the South Node in the third house in Taurus, known in his younger years as honest, as the man that can judge a dispute correctly, strong man, wrestler with that Taurus background, strong body, strongly built, and very intelligent and steady about his ways. But throughout his years, he found out that he would need to, as much as he was a peace-loving person, as much as he wanted to find a way that is peaceful and harmonious and negotiation, Gemini, third house, in commerce, to lead the way, and financial ability and benefits to lead the way, he found out that wasn't enough. That if you stand up for what you believe in, North Node in the ninth house, are beliefs. Those beliefs should be revolutionary, ahead of their time. Alternative, Uranus on the North Node in Scorpio. You cannot avert the strife, the chaos, the pain, the death, the instability, the rebirth that comes along with it. And indeed, with Uranus there in Scorpio, I think that aided the swift death this man had. Scorpio South Node. What do I know? So I remember having great power, and I remember losing it. This is a soul that already remembers the trauma, the conflict, the betrayal, the power struggles, the change, the drama. It comes with that lack of innocence to this life. And it might recreate it throughout its younger years. The younger years could be turbulent, could be dramatic, could be chaotic, could be cruel. And because of that, I could have an innate sense of danger and an attitude of this world is full of wolves. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and if I'm not one of the wolf pack, I'm one of the sheep. And I myself could have hidden motives and be manipulative. I have these memories of dealing with death and the cyclic motion of life. And an innate drama and intensity, and sometimes obsessive behavior in totality, a sense of symbiosis in others. Every relationship is like a tsunami. And it wears me out. It grinds. But in that totality, there's something very authentic. There's great passion, great spirituality, and great depth with the merging with one another, the relationships that we form. And I hold a magnetism about me, and psychological abilities, and psychic powers sometimes. Maybe a lot of sexuality as well. Or we could say a Terran hunger and the need to rise above it. I recognize the power of regeneration because of self-analysis. And I enjoy penetrating beneath the surface of everything and everyone in my life. And sometimes I like to let people know that I know, just that they'll know that I know. You know, but what do I have to learn? Coming from Scorpio to Taurus, that harmony is important. That we did not come here to live our life in constant drama. That we can avert some of it and find a more tranquil, peaceful life where we can heal and build and prosper and root. That cyclic motion is okay as long as it's not too turbulent all the time. Nothing grows in a storm. It's good once in a while. That I cannot depend on others, that I cannot invest myself in others totally, that I need to learn to be autonomous and satisfied with what I have. That first and foremost, I need to stand on my own 2 feet financially. I need to learn to prosper materialistically. I need to make peace with myself, with my body, with my senses, with my sexuality, with this meat glove that I'm pressed into in this lifetime. And that involves self-value. Self-value is a key word here. I need to understand borders. What truly belongs to me and what does to others. And what is loyalty? And why is it important? Loyalty to myself, loyalty to others, my ethics, my morals. Stepping out of the drama is learning also how to enjoy yourself better. It's part of it. Taurus came here to enjoy the fact that it's in a body, that it has 5 senses, all these good things to eat. Yum, 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 yum. So, another Luther King. Don't worry, ladies, there's ladies coming. So, this time we find the drama in the past life. We find the intensity in the past life already. And when we see this chart, it's very obvious that the drama and intensity and totality was also connected with relationships, maybe with marriage, maybe with that soul's partners. And that a lot of what it came to do this time around is find a more peaceful existence, more tranquil existence, and certainly do it alone, independently, not wait for someone to come along, to be the leader, and to still do it peacefully, non-violently, in a Taurian, Venusian way. To be a fighter for what I see as just, first house, honest to my needs and to who I am, but to do it in a peaceful manner, in an harmonious manner. Not to have that constant drama with the others portrayed in the South Node, in the 7th, in Scorpio. And in this case, we can see a very close square by Neptune in Virgo in the 5th house. So 5th house is the house of self-realization, of the footprint I leave behind, the signature I came to bring along, the light that I emit. And we can definitely see the religious theme here with Neptune, the social theme here with Virgo. And we understand that this self-becoming, the self-realization, becoming a religious authority, working for social justice, is a stepping stone to balance these nodes. We can go on and look at Uranus sextiling and trining, and the Sun sextiling and trining. And when we see a planet sextiling and trining, we say this planet needs to come into full effect in this lifetime, needs to truly shine this lifetime in order to actually help this person achieve his destiny in the highest fashion. So Uranus in the 12th, in Aries, again, very independent, alternative, ahead of its time. 12th house, religion, the public, the masses, the world, Aries, stepping to new territory, fighting for what is right. And the Sun on the MC, the second Gonglen point, in the sign of Capricorn. Realize yourself as an authority in your career. Shine in your career. Again, 9th house themes. We can find philosophy, spirituality, religion, preaching. Okay. Now, Gemini-Sagittarius. So Gemini South Node, coming from Gemini, I would have high communication skills, high verbal abilities. I could be tactful and modern and talkative and strike a conversation with almost everybody. I learn fast. I know how to utilize my intelligence. I can multitask and be versatile. And I either suffer or enjoy a high influence of people and the environment around me, my close surroundings, on who I am, what I think, and how I navigate my life. I like being a networker. I like being around people. I need that fast paced. I need to know what people are connected to. I need to know what's the fashion. What's the new thing to read? What's the show everybody's talking about? I need to be with the times. The spirit of the times, the zeitgeist, spirit of the age. But I learn that I need to be loyal to my own truth. And that search is the search of only one person, and that is me. I cannot take anyone along with me. And that there's more than intelligence to true wisdom. And I need to reconnect with my heart as a guide and as a compass. I disconnect from the elaborate social web that surrounds me. I understand that if through my life all the time I'm somebody's brother, somebody's friend, somebody's worker, somebody's father, somebody's child, somebody's world, I'm not myself, you know? And that I need to find a more remote, less entangled environment in order to breathe better and to develop into who I truly am. I need to understand that I am proficient already, that no other diploma or course or teacher would make me feel complete. That I don't have to be a perpetual student, but rather spread the wisdom I already hold and teach. There is more to life than I initially thought, than the people around me taught me to see. A higher potential, a wider scope. That I've been limited in my scope because of my surroundings. That the people around me are limited. That I need to aim higher. And many times it signifies a move from a lifestyle that is more urban and fast-paced to something that is either in the country or more slow-paced or remote or secluded, disconnecting from modernity and reconnecting with eternity. So, what a colorful guy. Liberace coming with the South Node in Gemini in the 5th, very flamboyant, very colorful, very playful. And we can see how that South Node touches the Sun, touches Mars. Basically, it holds company with all of the planets but the Moon in the vicinity of the North Node, which is totally alone there. It was very hard for Liberace to find that North Node in the 11th house in Sagittarius, to actually go along with his beliefs, with what he believed is true, and liberate himself, auto-emancipate himself, come out of the closet, 11th house, become alternative, rebel, step ahead of your time, be different. And by doing so, you would not only emancipate yourself, you would emancipate and progress humanity around you. Don't give such a toot about what other people think about you. Gemini South Node problem. I'm jumping ahead just that we not keep you here for too long. How are we with the time? Okay. So Gemini North Node coming from Sagittarius, I would already have self-loyalty and authenticity. I would be direct, sometimes intrusive, sometimes I would overstep the boundaries. I won't be very tactful. I would burp. I would not clean my nails. I would believe in naturality over sophistication, and anything too polite would look kind of unreal, kind of fake, kind of hypocritical. It would be something more authentic about being yourself. And I would enjoy living freely, adventurously, optimistically, in a simple way. I would have this wisdom with me that I would feel like spreading or teaching, hoping to enlighten others around me. And a deep connection to the creation around me, to nature around me, to creatress around me and within me, to that search of what is life and its philosophical and spiritual meaning, and what is the natural realm as well. I would dream big and aim high, sometimes unrealistically. I would have an expansive behavior and a nomadic energy about me, moving from place to place. What would I learn? I would learn to fasten my pace, to move into a faster pacing daily life, maybe a more urban and sophisticated one. I would become tactful and communicative, whether I like it or not. I would have to start listening to others and consider their opinions in order to enrich my database of the picture around me. And even though I might feel like a Tarzan being drawn into the city, being set at a table with a bow tie and asked to be eaten from 3 forks and knives, and all of this would look like a circus to me, at the end, I would become a cultured specimen of my environment, whether I like it or not. But through life, I can feel a bit like a shouter in the library. And I have to understand that sometimes it's better to shut up and listen. That I can't do it alone, that I need to learn to cooperate with people around me and create a network around me. That I can't be secluded. And that I need to imply a more logical frame of thought and become more objective and down to earth, logical, rather than belief, or let my beliefs take the better of me, get the better of me. So, Freddie Mercury. Now you all know why he was named Mercury, or why he named himself Mercury. By the way, the emblem of the band called Queen is made out of the zodiac signs of its members. And this guy was not only born as a Virgo, Mercury ruling planet, conjunct the sun on the ascendant in Virgo, must have knew that, loved it, called himself Mercury. Let's look at the nodes. Coming from the 4th house in Sagittarius. So coming from an parents from Pakistan, if I'm not mistaken, immigrated to the UK, different country, Sagittarius, deeply traditional and religious, simple people, a lot of beliefs, not adapt to the modern British lifestyle, and him experiencing all of that throughout his childhood, being this outsider, this weird creature, understanding that he needs to update, he needs to change, and he needs to walk away from his family, in a sense, who wouldn't let him be who he wanted to be, nor gay, nor a singer, and actually go out into the wide world of adults where nobody knows who he is and make a new character, a Uranian character, again, ahead of its time, alternative, rebellious, genius. Uranus and Gemini on the North Node, genius. And Mercury on the ascendant adds to that in Virgo. But that's the message that this person needed to carry. That's the destiny he needed to carry. But could he forget about his family? Could he neglect them? Would it be good if he would have? No. Family is still a very important place. The beliefs of my family are important. The traditions are important. And indeed, they did accept him in the end. But it was a struggle. So, another way to look at this is just to think of what it is we came to balance through this axis. So instead of what I know and what I need to learn, what do I need to balance? So when we look at the Cancer-Capricorn axis, we could say, I came to balance home and family with career, the emotional inner child within me, and the responsible adult. Astrologers say this is a sex change axis, from male to female or from female to male. And I need to know how to work with these two sides within me. When to be strong, practical, and domineering, and when to be warm, emotional, soft, and maternal. This placement usually carries with it strong karma, very good perseverance. And how to take personal responsibility for both my outer and inner circles, for both my career and my family, for both my emotions and my creations. So let's look at Prince William. South Node in Capricorn in the 1st house. And the North Node in the 7th in the sign of Cancer. With an eclipse. Is it an eclipse? No, it's not an eclipse. Or a very partial one, but nevertheless a new moon just on the North Node. So we could see that this person already came from a place of authority, from a place of laws, from a place of discipline regarding my character, regarding what I want to do, and how I set things. Something that was autonomous, but yet very consensual, how you say it, within the consensus. And here we see that there is a need to step a bit away from the law into the heart, to become much softer throughout life, and maybe even devoted to parenting of some sort. So either to the parenting of the other, to the parenting of children, to the parenting of the nation. We could say that this is a lifetime in which he came to de-emphasize and to take a slower, more intimate pace in life, a more interpersonal and personal road throughout life. Because he already comes from a lifetime, a previous lifetime of dominance, of independent dominance. So we can think about his relationships as being very important. The influence that his wife would have is very important. Woody Allen. I'm sorry it's all male this far. This guy, 11th house, Cancer South Node. So coming from the familial place, coming from the place of being different, of being alternative, maybe in the being weird, maybe being too sensitive, and doing things, actually manifesting oneself, creating, going up on stage and doing it in a very responsible and in a career-wise fashion, like orienting yourself towards your career with Capricorn there. And of course, we know that Woody Allen is accused by Mia Farrow's daughter of molesting her sexually, and we know that he chose to marry his other foster daughter, Sulene or Yulene or whatever her name is, when she reached puberty. So we can see that node, the 5th house in Capricorn. Capricorn is also karma. So karma with children. Because I have an alternative family. I married my daughter. Might have hurt the other one as well. The nodes in Leo Aquarius axis would need a balance between my ego's desire and the benefit I give to the group. My personal destiny, when my heart desires, versus contributing to the communal evolution. I would ask myself, what is true leadership? What is true success? What are the expectations I need to stand up to? I would need to understand when to be a regent and when to be a commoner, when to stand out and step up, and when to play ball. I would need to balance between my heart and the higher brain, the subjective and the objective, and be unique. So, Madame Bardot, coming from a South Node in Leo, in the 8th house, remembering the drama, remembering how it was to be center stage, remembering the sexuality, wanting to go towards the 2nd house, which is much more tranquil, much more autonomous, and in the sign of Aquarius, disconnected from the senses, disconnected from the body, disconnected, living from my shoulders up, tied into an ideal that actually betters this world, maybe together with other people who believe the same way. And of course, we all know her for the activist she is. And a very autonomous and seclusive person in her later life. You can say that as she draws in more into the Aquarian side, we know Aquarians to be lovers of humanity, but haters of mankind. You know? So the mother of the offspring we spoke about minutes before, Princess D, God bless her soul, coming already from a place in which she felt different in her environment. She felt ahead of her time. She felt rebellious within her family, within her surroundings. She had that advanced understanding, saw the visions that others could not, was ahead of her time. And even though she didn't want to, she was pushed up on stage because of her beliefs. 9th house Leo. And she utilized that stage and those alternative beliefs ahead of her time, Uranian, conjunct the North Node, to go into the hardest, most traumatic places in the world, in different countries. With this Virgo energy, go into the minefields and death camps and wherever, speak with Mars and Pluto and all that war, and actually bring amendment. Of course, a fast, violent death in this case, while Mercury came on top of this North Node conjunction. Virgo and Pisces axis. We will need to reach a balance between control, self-control, and faith. We're letting go. The AANASA Serenity Prayer is great for the Virgo Pisces axis. God, please grant me the power to change what is within my power to change, the serenity to accept what is not within my power to change, and the wisdom to know how to differentiate between the two. We need to understand that everything is connected, that we are all related, but borders are necessary, that we need to play along, that this works as a chain. And that we need to be more attuned to our body-spirit relationships. That our stress can hurt us physically. That if we do not maintain what we have, if we neglect it, we will lose. I need to balance out between spirituality and idealism and practical realism. Between my connection to the universe around me and my connection to the society of men. I need to balance out how I want to manifest my personal goals. I want them to manifest. And the need to sacrifice some of it and some of myself for a higher cause. Whether that cause is bringing up children, or, you know, taking part in taking care of my mother, or whatever it is. And between my spiritual and my social calling. So, Mr. Dickens, coming from a very rich, very imaginative past life, South Node in the 4th, in Pisces, conjunct Pluto and sorry, Venus, but heading into the 10th house, starting step out of your of the family arena, step out of parenting, step out of the womb, and jump from the nest. You have to do it in the realms of career this time, and you have to do it meticulously, in perfection. And you're going to give some service to the world throughout it. Some amendment to the world throughout it. And of course, we know how connected the themes of Dickens was to social injustice in the Victorian era. And in the Industrial Revolution. And last but not least, Yoko Ono. We began with her partner, we end with her. And when we look at her chart, we understand that this is a person that came with a great need for control, but needed to learn to create freely, to imagine. And the words for this song, Imagine, are Yoko's words, not John's. He actually said that she was the one who wrote it more than he did. And when he met her at her arts exhibition in New York, she just took out a book that taught people how to use their imagination. So we can see that even though she was born with the cusp of the 12th house touching her South Node, it's still in the 11th, and it's in Virgo, so it's very cerebral. And they need to play along with things, take them less critically, to still use the intelligence and the different viewpoint, the sophistication, to see something that is not of the transient, that maybe is eternal, something that could touch everybody through creativity or art. That is why she became an artist, because she understood that art is a universal language. And we can see Mercury again there. It had to be conceptual. So, you could follow me, stay in contact with me through Profiler Astrology on Facebook or Instagram. YouTube channel is Evolutionary Astrology Message. You get briefs, weekly briefs about what's happening in the celestial sphere and all kinds of other videos as well. boazfyler.com is not that updated. I need to update it. Certainly don't try and book a date with me through my site. But you can always contact me through WhatsApp or through FaceTime or whatever, or through email. And it could be either boazfyler@gmail.com or niafyler@gmail.com. And basically, what I have left to say is that I hope that you all live long, and will it work? I think it starts